Welcome to this module on the note-taking strategy. You can watch this module on your own, with your teacher-based team, or as a whole staff professional development. Our learning targets for the note-taking module include identifying why note-taking is an evidence-based practice, exploring several note-taking methods to use in your classroom, commit to adapting or trying a note-taking method in your classroom. According to extensive research initiated by John Hattie, note-taking has an effect size of 0.51. This is above the 0.4 hinge point and is considered in the zone of desired effects. The definition on the slide comes from the Visible Learning MetaX website. Note-taking practice involves students making notes in a systematic manner. Such note-taking has been linked to increased engagement, more generative learning, and greater self-efficacy. Of note, this is not providing students with notes or sharing them, but the student actually learning the skills of note-taking. Note-taking provides several benefits beyond that record of what was presented in a lecture or class activity. Effective note-taking keeps you alert. Note-taking keeps students' bodies active and involved and helps them avoid feelings of drowsiness or distraction. It engages the mind. Listening carefully and deciding what to include in notes keeps students' minds actively involved with what they hear. It emphasizes and organizes information. As students take notes, they'll decide on and highlight the key ideas they hear, identifying the structure of a class presentation. They'll also be able to indicate the supporting points of a presentation, making study and understanding easier after class. Such organized notes also make it easier for them to link classroom learning to textbook readings. And finally, it creates a condensed record for study. A set of concise, well-organized notes from each class session gives students what they need for study, learning, and review after class. Students are usually not taught active listening skills. Teaching note-taking skills can improve active listening. In addition, note-taking can help students overcome distractions. No matter what the distractions may be, noises, worries, or people, students can take responsibility for concentrating on what class provides. Taking notes can help students make a commitment to listen even when it is difficult and reduce any distractions. It can help them focus on central themes. It can help students maintain focus, and it can help students judge the message and not the messenger. Not all students may be able to relate to their instructor, but the information that the instructor is presenting is still valuable. Taking notes can help students maintain focus and pay attention to the message being given. Pause now and reflect on how students currently utilize note-taking in your classroom. If you are viewing this video by yourself, you can personally reflect by thinking or writing about your own practice. If you are viewing this video in a group setting, feel free to discuss your current practices in your group. Verbatim note-taking is not an effective way to take notes. When students take verbatim notes, they write down everything that the teacher says, or as much of it as they can, as they hear it, and in no particular format. Such notes are often hard to decipher and are usually incomplete because a teacher may be speaking more rapidly than students can write. As a result, verbatim notes require attention and reorganization to be useful for study. Verbatim notes are more helpful than no notes at all, but there are more efficient and effective approaches. The quantity of notes is directly related to how much information students retain. Although students are often encouraged to keep notes brief, it turns out that in general, the more notes students take, the more information they tend to remember later. The quantity of notes is directly related to how much information students retain. Nye, Crooks, Powley, and Tripp, 1984. This would be useful to share with students. If they know that more complete notes will result in better learning, they may be more likely to record additional information in their notes rather than striving for brevity. Outlining involves using bullet points, numbered lists, or arrows to indicate a new thought. Every major topic of the lecture or class will be placed farthest to the left of the page. Subtopics will be added using an indent to the right. Each supporting fact or note is placed below the subtopic using another indent. This way, the notes add a great structure to the whole lecture or class, making it easy for them to review after. Advantages. The outline method reduces the time needed to edit and review notes, which is useful if students need to digest a lot of information in a short time. It does not only show the main points of the lecture or class, but also shows the relationship between the single items. Since it follows a relatively strict framework, this method allows students to focus on what's being said in class instead of needing to spend too much time getting the notes right. One of the biggest advantages of the outline method is that it is easy to review the notes. When students write them down by hand and review them, it is much more flexible. They can draw arrows and lines connecting thoughts from different subtopics and add comments to the side. Disadvantages. The outline note-taking method has its disadvantages. For classes that require students to write a lot of formulas and graphs, like math or chemistry, other note-taking systems like Cornell Notes are superior. The Cornell method provides a systematic format for condensing and organizing notes. This system of taking notes is designed for high school or college level students. There are several ways of taking notes, but one of the most common is the two-column notes. The student divides the paper into two columns. The note-taking column, usually on the right, is twice the size of the questions or keyword column on the left. The student leaves 5 to 7 lines, or about 2 inches, at the bottom of the page. A study published in 2010 by Wichita State University compared two note-taking methods in a secondary English classroom and found that the Cornell note-taking may be of added benefit in cases where students are required to synthesize and apply learned knowledge, while the guided notes method appeared to be better for basic recall. View the video on the slide and pause to answer these questions. Does your current usage of Cornell Notes align with what is demonstrated in the video? If you are not currently using Cornell Notes, how could you integrate this method into your practice? Guided notes are teacher-prepared handouts that outline lectures, audiovisual presentations, or readings, but leave blank space for students to fill in key concepts, facts, definitions, or other information. Guided notes promote active engagement during the lecture or independent reading, provide full and accurate notes for use as a study guide, and help students to identify the most important information covered. Teachers can build scaffolds into their instruction to ensure that students take better notes. Guided notes is one type of scaffold. With guided notes, the teacher provides the same type of outline of the material to be covered, but with space left for students to complete key information. This strategy has been shown to substantially increase student engagement across all grade levels, that's elementary through college, with students who present with various disabilities. That research comes from Hayden, Mansell, Kroger, McCleskey, and Lynn, 2011. View the video on this slide and pause to reflect on how you can use guided notes in your classroom. Research has shown that when we give students complete, well-written, instructor-prepared notes to review after they take their own notes, they learn significantly more than with their own notes alone. That research is from Kirwa, 1985. If we combine this strategy with student revision, collaboration, and pausing to improve note-taking and learning, in other words, having students pause during an intake session to collaboratively revise their notes and let them review instructor notes at the end, we can give our students an incredibly powerful learning experience. One concern is that providing notes might make students more passive about taking their own notes during the learning experience. Here are some suggestions for addressing that. It would be effective to simply build note-taking into the class activities. For example, if students are encouraged to take notes, and then they are given a pause every few minutes to compare and revise notes, it would be pretty awkward for them to turn to a partner and have nothing to contribute. Sharing the research with students that those taking notes and revising them with instructor notes has greater impact than instructor notes alone might push students to take more notes. Allowing students to choose a note-taking format that works best for them would also boost student motivation for taking notes. When students are given an opportunity to revise, add to, or rewrite their notes, they tend to retain more information. And when that revision happens during deliberate pauses in a lecture or other learning experience, students remember the information better and take better notes than if the revision happens after the learning experience is over. Finally, if students collaborate on this revision with partners, they record even more to complete notes and score higher on post-tests. That's Liu, Kirwa, and Samuelson, 2016. With this in mind, it would be a good idea to plan breaks in lectures, videos, or independent reading periods to allow students to look over, add to, and revise their notes, ideally with a partner or small group. This partner work could happen after students have had time to revise their notes alone, or students might be given access to classmates for the duration of the pause. Studies have shown that students who take notes by hand learn more than those who take notes on a laptop. That comes from Mueller, Oppenheimer, 2014, Carter, Greenberg, and Walker, 2017. Though a little more time consuming, there are many benefits of handwriting your notes. Longhand notes allow for better short and long-term memory recall because they contain your own words and handwriting. These can serve as effective memory cues by recreating the context and content from the original lecture or class. When students write things out, they create spatial relations between each bit of information they're recording. Handwriting activates parts of the brain involved in thinking and working memory and allows you to store and manage information. The movement associated with the pen and hand can help encode and retain information long term. Handwriting allows students to think more thoroughly about the information being recorded. It encourages expansion upon thoughts and forms connections between them. This can be further enhanced by using pens of different colored ink as a color coding system to organize thoughts and form more connections. This is the conclusion of this module on note-taking strategies. We challenge you to adapt your current practice or try a new method after viewing this module. Thank you.